In today's discussion, we'll explore 10 ways that overly nice people frequently get it wrong in relationships. From always saying yes to instantly forgiving Stoic principles, offer a sturdy guide to maintaining dignity, commanding respect, and ensuring that you're not just loved, but also respected in your relationships. Remember, it's not about being less caring, but about caring smartly and with self-respect, ready to change how you approach your relationships and life makes sense. Have you ever wondered why being too nice might not be so nice after all for your relationships? Today, we're tackling the curious case of the overly nice guy and the subtle traps it sets in romantic dynamics. One of the most common errors made by two kind men in romantic relationships is succumbing to the availability paradox. Think about this situation. From a Stoic perspective, maintaining balance and moderation is key. Being overly accessible can harm the relationship more than it helps. By always being available, you risk making your partner feel overwhelmed and pressured. It's important to remember that it's healthy to have your own commitments and stick to them. When your partner texts you, you respond right away. When they suggest a date, you make time in your schedule. While this may seem like a thoughtful way to show you care, it can actually be counterproductive. After all, who wants to hang out? Famous Stoic philosopher Epicurus highlighted the value of self-control in setting personal boundaries and reminded us that prosperity is not derived from having many material belongings, but rather from having limited desires. Let's examine an illustration. John, a traditional nice man, recently started dating Sarah. He likes her a lot and wants to show her how much he cares, so he's always accessible for her. If she phones in the middle of the day, he drops everything to chat to her, and if she requests a meeting, he immediately cancels his arrangements with friends. At first, Sarah is grateful for the attention, but eventually she starts to feel suffocated and loses respect for John because it seems like he doesn't have a life of his own. Because John is always there for Sarah, she starts to believe that he values her more than his own interests and personal development. How can nice guys avoid falling into this trap? It's easy. Just prioritize your commitments and live your own life. Telling your lover that you occasionally have other plans is nothing to be ashamed of. This doesn't mean you should be careless or uninterested. Rather, it means you should demonstrate that you have a fulfilling life outside of the relationship. It's acceptable to set limits or reschedule. Doing so shows respect for yourself and can even make you appear more attractive by valuing your time and obligations. You not only uphold your dignity as a person, but you also cultivate a more wholesome and courteous bond with others. Live life to the fullest and show your partner that you are a unique person with aspirations and passions. The second step in a well-balanced Stoic attitude to relationships is immediate forgiveness. Being able to forgive someone is a wonderful quality and is essential for a healthy relationship, but not everything can be forgiven immediately. People who are overly kind often have a habit of not holding their friends and partners accountable for their mistakes. Instead, they always welcome them back with open arms. For example, if a friend consistently breaks their promises and disappoints you, it can be frustrating for anyone. However, if someone is overly accommodating, they may not hold their friend accountable for their repeated failures. Instead, they will forgive and move on, regardless of how many times their friend disappoints them. So why is it important to delay forgiveness? The main reason is that it can be harmful to the relationship. It's crucial to avoid giving friends too much forgiveness and to stop acting as though they never make mistakes, since this lack of accountability frequently results in lovely people being taken advantage of because their friends don't perceive any consequences for their behavior and as a result lose respect for them. Although it's necessary to have faith in others and to give them the benefit of the doubt, you also need to take your own emotions into account. It's perfectly acceptable to feel upset and take your time to process things. Your emotions and thoughts are just as valid as anyone else's. Don't forgive just because you feel obligated to. An issue that overly nice people frequently have is that they may forgive on the outside but harbor resentment on the inside. Rather than brushing issues aside, confront your feelings as they arise. This way, when someone apologizes, you'll genuinely be able to forgive them rather than just pretending to do so from a Stoic perspective. This approach is in line with the idea of self-respect and maintaining inner balance. Nice people often try to ignore their negative emotions, but this denial only creates problems later. One of the greatest Stoic thinkers, Marcus Aurelius, taught us to value ourselves and to draw limits that preserve our mental peace. He also taught us that forgiving should not be a reflex action, but rather a deliberate and planned deed. Say you're dating someone who constantly cancels plans. If you forgive them right away, they might keep doing this without thinking about how it affects you. However, if you calmly explain how their actions affect you and take a moment to process your feelings before forgiving, you're setting a clear boundary that not only demonstrates your value as a person, but also encourages the other person to think about their behavior and make changes for the better. Keep in mind that genuine forgiveness entails facing the hurt, admitting it, and then moving on with a clear and composed head. Number 3. Creating uncertainty. Being too nice can sometimes backfire on you, leading others to question your intentions. This may seem counterintuitive, especially if you think that being nice will make you more likable. But Stoicism teaches us the importance of authenticity and integrity, which are crucial for developing real relationships. When you're too nice, people may assume that you're manipulating them, even if that's not your intention. For instance, let's say you're dating someone new, and you always agree with her, never voicing your own opinions. She might first appreciate the agreement, thinking you're laid back and encouraging, but she might quickly begin to question whether you're just saying what she wants to hear in order to gain her favor. This could cause her to mistrust and become suspicious of your genuine motivations. It's essential to communicate your actual thoughts and sentiments in order to prevent this skepticism. Stoic philosophy exhorts us to live by our own principles and convictions, as opposed to just, rather than giving people what they want to hear, be honest about your opinions. For instance, if a woman asks for your opinion on a subject, don't be afraid to respectfully disagree if you have a different perspective. This doesn't mean being confrontational. Rather, it means demonstrating that you have your own views and are confident in expressing them. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This Stoic principle reminds us to act with integrity and honesty, because by being genuine, you demonstrate to others that you are reliable and confident in your own beliefs, strengthening the basis for relationships free from doubt and skepticism. Additionally, Stoicism trains us to be independent and resilient. Epicus highlighted the value of being loyal to oneself and avoiding the need for validation from others. If you're overly kind, you might be looking for validation or approval, which can damage your sense of self-worth and lead to dependency. However, by being loyal to your principles and voicing your true feelings, you develop inner strength and independence, which are desirable traits. Keep your word, speak your truth, and let your deeds to speak for you. By doing this, you'll dispel doubts and create relationships that are more profound and meaningful. Recall that sincere connections are based on mutual respect and trust, rather than people-pleasing number 4 who is constantly sorry. In an attempt to appease others and avoid confrontation, people frequently make the mistake of apologizing for everything, even when it wasn't their fault. However, this practice frequently backfires, causing more problems than it fixes. Imagine you're with a group of friends and someone suggests you go to a restaurant you don't particularly like. Rather than voicing your preference, you go along with it to avoid seeming difficult later. Later, even though it wasn't your choice, you apologize for not enjoying the meal. This continual need to apologize for things outside of your control can, from a Stoic perspective, make you appear insecure and lacking in self-respect. This excessive apologizing habit is the result of having a false sense of what you are accountable for. You are accountable for your choices, actions, and reactions, not for the thoughts, feelings, or deeds of others. By apologizing a lot, you unintentionally suggest that you're willing to accept responsibility for events beyond your control, which is neither wise nor practical. Take the case of Alex, for example. One day, Alex's partner mentioned that she felt uncomfortable with him constantly being cautious around her, even though he was always the first to apologize for any inconveniences. Rather than over-apologizing, Alex saw that his frequent apologies were damaging his partner's trust and his own self-worth. Alex chose to adopt Stoic ideals. Before apologizing, he thought about the circumstance and asked himself if it really called for an apology or if it was something else entirely. Uncontrollably, he began to voice his preferences and opinions with greater assurance, realizing that assertiveness and honesty do not equate to being impolite or disrespectful, and this resulted in less needless apologies. Alex noticed an improvement in his relationships. His spouse was pleased with his newly discovered self-assurance and felt more comfortable knowing that he would speak openly rather than always trying to. In conclusion, plate her. If you find yourself saying sorry for everything, take a moment to reflect on whether you really need to apologize and instead concentrate on gaining confidence in your choices and actions. Recall AA. Sincere apology is important and ought to be saved for circumstances in which you are genuinely at fault. By doing this, you'll improve your relationships and develop a stronger sense of integrity and self-respect, which is consistent with the Stoic philosophy that emphasizes the significance of accepting what you cannot control and concentrating on the things you can. Number 5. Neglecting self-care. Understanding and balancing your needs with those of others is one of the core principles of Stoicism. Unfortunately, many nice guys fall into the trap of completely ignoring their own needs because they often think that by always putting others first, they are doing the right thing. However, Stoic philosophy states that it is essential to find a balance, and this can lead to a life of unfulfillment and missed opportunities. According to Marcus Aurelius, stop wasting time debating what makes a decent man. B1. This implies that in addition to being nice and helpful, you also need to look after your own needs. It's not selfish to prioritize your personal development and well-being. Rather, it's essential for leading a healthy and satisfying life. Take David, for example, a kind man who consistently helps his co-workers at work by staying late to help them with their assignments, frequently neglecting his own interests and hobbies. David loves to be known as the helpful guy, but as time goes on, he starts to feel angry and worn out because he is prioritizing the needs of others over his own, which is negatively affecting his happiness and productivity. When David dates, his situation gets worse because he puts her needs ahead of his own. He cancels plans with friends, skips workouts, and even gives up on his personal goals in an effort to make her happy. Eventually, David feels lost and detached from his true self. To change this, David needs to adopt a Stoic mindset. He should start by setting boundaries and prioritizing his needs. By doing this, he will not only take better care of himself, but also be able to assist others more effectively. Stoic wisdom suggests finding a balance that allows you to serve others without sacrificing your own well-being. Self-care is paramount. Epicus David can lead a more balanced and fulfilling life by focusing on what he can control, which includes scheduling time for his interests and goals, even if it means saying no to others occasionally. It also means having honest conversations with his partner about his needs and making sure his well-being is not constantly compromised. Understanding that prioritizing his needs is not a sign of selfishness, but a necessary step towards a healthier, happier life is important. Another great Stoic philosopher emphasized the importance of knowing what is within our control and what is not. Don't ignore your needs. By taking care of yourself first, you'll be in a better position to assist others. If you've followed along with me thus far and are still engaged, I invite you to pause for a moment and comment below with "Take care of myself first." This small action indicates that you genuinely resonate with the message we've been exploring. Your participation means a lot and is a testament to your commitment to personal growth. Now let's delve deeper and continue our exploration together. See how prioritizing them transforms your life and relationships. Sixth, being reluctant to say no is a critical component of keeping relationships strong, particularly when seen from a Stoic perspective. Nice guys often struggle with this concept. They have a tendency to say yes to everything even when they don't want to. This stems from a desire to please others and avoid conflict, but constantly agreeing to things can lead to feelings of resentment and being taken advantage of. Stoicism teaches us the importance of self-control and setting boundaries, which are essential for personal well-being and respect in relationships. This is not a Stoic way of life because it disturbs your inner peace and self-respect. On the other hand, being willing to say no can foster respect from others. Setting boundaries and being honest and assertive do not imply being rude or dismissive. For instance, if a colleague asks you to take on extra work that you can't handle, a Stoic response would be to politely decline and explain your reasons. Imagine you have a friend who constantly asks for favors. If you never say no, you might find yourself overwhelmed and feeling used. This exhibits restraint and an awareness of your own boundaries. Furthermore, if you are willing to prioritize your well-being and stand up for yourself, others will respect your boundaries and be more appreciative of your time and effort. For example, if a friend keeps asking you to hang out when you have important tasks to complete, politely declining can help them understand and value your priorities. This helps you personally and enhances the quality of your relationships, making them more sincere and well-rounded. Being overly kind and accommodating can also result in a loss of identity. When you put other people's demands before of your own, you run the risk of forgetting your own principles and objectives. This could lead to a life that feels empty and cut off from who you really are. It's not about being harsh. Rather, it's about protecting your well-being and maintaining your self-respect. By saying no when necessary, you can ensure that your actions are in line with your values and that you are living authentically. In doing so, you will cultivate more meaningful and balanced relationships where your time and efforts are truly appreciated. This approach is in line with the Stoic principle of living a life of virtue and wisdom, in making sure that your actions reflect your true values and priorities. Recall that refusing something doesn't indicate weakness or selfishness. Rather, it shows strength and a dedication to leading an authentic life. Seventh, exchange investment. Often, charming guys make the mistake of being the only ones who invest in their relationships. They spend a lot of time and energy on them while their partners hardly ever get a chance to say hello. Since real trust and connections are based on reciprocal effort and shared responsibility, for instance, you're the one who constantly arranges dates, makes phone calls, and makes sure everything goes smoothly, this one-sided investment is harmful. Rather than strengthening relationships, it breeds resentment and frustration. Stoicism helps us understand the value of equality in relationships. A relationship should be a shared journey rather than one in which one person does all the heavy lifting. Nice guys frequently realize that something is wrong and that their relationships aren't equitable, but they don't deal with it, putting up with inconvenience as long as their spouses remain unaffected. Although this may appear noble at first, it eventually damages the relationship. In order for a relationship to succeed, both parties must be committed. Otherwise, the partnership is likely to struggle over time. Consider the following scenario: a man who consistently complies with his partner's demands, sacrificing his own needs and desires. While this may seem like a way to maintain harmony, it frequently results in burnout and dissatisfaction. Stoicism highlights the significance of addressing these imbalances. By establishing boundaries and guaranteeing reciprocal investment, Stoicism pushes us to reach a middle ground where both partners' needs are satisfied. This results in a healthier, more balanced partnership. Being excessively kind can occasionally be interpreted as a lack of self-respect, since it sends the message to others that your time and effort are not worthwhile when you give to others without expecting anything in return. Consider the long-term effects of unbalanced relationships as well. Over time, the person who constantly gives will feel drained and unappreciated, and the partner who takes without giving will never learn to value and invest in the relationship. This dynamic leads to dissatisfaction and eventually the breakdown of the relationship. Stoicism teaches the importance of self-respect and dignity. You deserve a partner who values and reciprocates your efforts by standing up for yourself and seeking balance. Applying Stoic principles, you can learn to set boundaries and expect reciprocal effort, which not only ensures fairness, but also strengthens the bond between you and your partner. Remember, a balanced relationship benefits everyone involved and fosters genuine, lasting connections. Stoicism serves as a reminder that for a relationship to endure, both partners must be willing to invest equally. Number 8. Intense resentment when you're overly nice. Many nice guys feel that their generosity and selflessness should be returned by friends and partners, but when this isn't the case, resentment begins to fester. For example, imagine that you always go above and beyond to help someone, but you never feel as though the favor is returned over time. This disappointment can become a heavy weight of resentment. Alternatively, suppose that you always make time for your partner, cancelling your own plans to be there for them. At first, you might push aside your negative emotions in the belief that you're being understanding, but eventually these emotions. This situation is an excellent illustration of why polite guys frequently struggle in relationships, because their high expectations, even though they originate from a good place, set them up for eventual disappointment in their stoicism. Controlling your expectations is essential. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius recommended telling yourself at the start of each day, "Today I shall be meeting with interference, lack of appreciation, arrogance, betrayal, malice, and self-centeredness." This way of thinking assists in establishing reasonable expectations for human conduct by realizing that not everyone will be as unselfish as you are. This isn't about being gloomy. Rather, it's about being ready for the realities of people and interactions to stop anger from growing. Modify your expectations of people in general as well as of oneself. A common cause of disappointment is having high expectations. Instead of assuming that people would always act in the same way as you can prevent the aggravation that arises from expecting more from your relationships by taking a more realistic approach to them. Recognize that each person expresses caring in a different way and to varying degrees. If you have a friend who consistently seems to take without providing anything in return, you could feel wounded and undervalued instead of allowing resentment to fester. A Stoic might counsel you to consider why you are choosing to be so giving. Is it because you genuinely care about others, or are you expecting something in return? Being kind, just for the purpose of being kind, without regard to potential rewards or recognition. A Stoic mindset promotes not becoming angry when someone don't return the favor by concentrating on the things you can control, such as your actions and behaviors. Recognize that your efforts should be motivated by real goodwill rather than the hope of receiving something in return. This mental adjustment can help you feel less frustrated and create stronger, more enduring connections. Epicus setting reasonable expectations and adopting a Stoic mindset will help you maintain your inner peace and create more harmonious and fulfilling relationships. Another Stoic philosopher once said, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well." By putting this principle into practice, you let go of the need to control others' actions and concentrate on your own virtue. Remember, kindness is a virtue, but allowing yourself to be consumed by unmet expectations and growing resentment is not. You can maintain healthy relationships free from the poison of resentment by focusing on being kind because it is in line with your values rather than because you anticipate something in return. Connections at the surface level, number 9. Despite their best efforts, decent males frequently make the mistake of creating shallow friendships with women, which keeps them from moving on to deeper, more meaningful relationships. This problem arises from their propensity to conceal their actual feelings and thoughts out of fear that being genuine and true to oneself will contradict the Stoic teachings. The Stoics held that we should express our actual feelings and thoughts, even if it means coming to terms with disagreements. Fear prevents people from having deeper, more genuine bonds. Imagine being in a position where you always agree with your spouse in order to maintain peace. While this may seem like a smart method to avoid disputes, it actually hinders the formation of a closer, more honest bond. For example, if your partner suggests a plan that you genuinely dislike, instead of just going along with it to avoid an argument, calmly express your true feelings by saying, "I appreciate your idea, but I have some concerns about it. Can we discuss this further?" This approach not only shows that you respect yourself, but it also demonstrates that you respect your partner enough to be honest with them. Over time, this can lead to frustration and a feeling of being misunderstood. Stoicism tells us that conflicts are a normal aspect of human relationships. They can result in fruitful concessions and, by expressing your actual feelings and ideas, deepen the bond. You open the door to greater respect and understanding between people. Repressing your emotions in order to prevent confrontation will only hinder the development of your partnership. One of the greatest Stoic philosophers, Marcus Aurelius, wrote in his Reflections, "Spend no more time debating what makes a decent man. Instead, concentrate on being loyal to yourself and acting with integrity. This means that you should not worry about whether or not your actions will be viewed as kind or pleasing. Genuineness encourages deference and closer ties. By following Stoic principles, you can cultivate relationships that are based on mutual respect and genuine understanding. Therefore, embrace your true self, express your genuine feelings, and don't shy away from disagreements. Following these principles will help you move forward in your relationships. Building meaningful relationships involves more than just being nice. It requires honesty, vulnerability, and the courage to face conflicts head-on. Go beyond surface-level ties and establish enduring, significant relationships. Quick fatigue is number 10. This occurs when you take on too much work and feel obligated to make everything perfect. You may think you're doing the right thing by being there for others all the time, but this frequently results in you putting other people's needs last and burning out fast. Being overly nice can lead to actions that aren't true to ourselves, which can create internal conflict and exhaustion. When you consistently put others before yourself, you're not being true to your own needs and boundaries to prevent burnout. Relationships shouldn't be exhausting, but for overly nice guys, they often are. Consider it a stoic approach to life, except that you can't control everything and find peace in the present moment. By doing this, you allow your relationship to grow naturally without the added stress. This doesn't mean neglecting your partner. Rather, it means finding a healthy balance where both of you can enjoy the time you spend together. Take a step back and let things flow naturally. Don't try to control every aspect of the relationship. Thrive. Upholding your own inner tranquility is another essential Stoic ideal. Another Stoic philosopher emphasizes the importance of controlling our desires and aversions rather than always attempting to please friends and partners. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't be considerate or caring. Rather, it means that you should prioritize your own needs and well-being. By doing this, you'll be better able to support others in a sustainable and healthy manner. For example, if you keep adding logs to a fire without letting it catch, you'll end up with a smoldering mess rather than a warm, steady fire. Flame. The same is true for relationships. If you constantly adding more responsibilities to your life and never give yourself and your relationship time to grow, you'll burn out. Instead of focusing on constant problem-solving and maintenance, give yourself and your relationship room to breathe and concentrate on mutual enjoyment and shared experiences. If you find yourself feeling burned out from being overly nice, remember to slow down and enjoy the moments you share without feeling pressured to make everything perfect. In doing so, you'll not only avoid burnout, but also forge a stronger, more genuine connection with your partner and friends. By adopting a more stoic attitude toward your relationships, you will value your personal happiness and tranquility in addition to that of your loved ones. By doing this, you will build a satisfying, well-balanced connection that is advantageous to all parties. We've covered a lot of ground today, including the difficulties that arise from being overly kind in relationships, and how Stoic wisdom can direct us toward connections that are better and more balanced. If today's insights have sparked a new perspective or validated your own experiences, keep in mind that Stoicism doesn't mean withholding kindness or warmth. Rather, it teaches us to balance these virtues with dignity and self-respect by avoiding the pitfalls of being always available and quick to forgive. This allows you to cultivate relationships that are deeply respectful and loving. Please click the like button and subscribe for more insightful information. Your support enables us to expand and keep delivering insightful content. If you have any ideas or first-hand knowledge of the difficulties associated with being overly kind, please share them in the space provided below. We appreciate your feedback and love hearing about one other's experiences. Check out the suggested videos that are currently shown on your screen if you're ready to learn more about Stoic ideas and how to apply them to many facets of your life. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Continue your journey with us as we explore how ancient wisdom may address contemporary issues and change not just your attitude to relationships, but also your way of living.